Hello, everyone. I'm Steve,
I'm Scott.
and together we're Backyard Musings. We're the science and technology channel, but occasionally we do special editions to talk about politics. We did a lot of that for when we first stood up, January to November, and then we pivoted to science and technology. But we've got an interesting special edition for you today. For years, conservative media, lawmakers, and talking heads have been sounding the alarm about former President Joe Biden's cognitive decline. And for years, left-wing media, lawmakers, and their loyal mouthpieces waved it off with the same condescending dismissal, accusing us of lying, fear-mongering, or worse. Some even went so far as to say they wouldn't keep up with Biden's supposed they couldn't keep up with Biden's supposed brilliance and jam-packed schedule of what was mostly just one morning briefing and two mid-afternoon naps.
Yeah, I remember people on the news talking about this, because I guess they would send the press, White House press would send out his schedule for the day. And it was, wake up, eat breakfast. The rest of it was blank.
Blank and then call it at 4:00.
Yeah, as blank as Kamala Harris's mind. So there just was not much going on there. So anyway. But, it's funny because now, a few months into the change, and now Trump's taken office, how many of the Democrat pundits have started to admit that, we think we were snafu'd. So I don't know.
Yeah, anyway. We were sold a bill of goods that, was the wrong goods.
Yeah, somebody just wasn't paying attention. So anyway, House Speaker Mike Johnson dropped a bombshell about a January 2024 meeting in which Biden was apparently stunned to learn that he had signed an executive order halting liquefied natural gas exports just weeks earlier. That is scary. He repeatedly denied even knowing about it. Johnson believed Biden didn't know what he signed, leaving him with a terrifying question: who is running the country?
Am I right?
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean, he was stunned. So he didn't know what was going on. So we're picking up this story from another author. So this author is saying there's at least 5 shadowy figures who might have been behind the wheel. First, former President Barack Obama. Remember when former President Barack Obama joked in a 2020 interview with Stephen Colbert that he'd love a third term where he could play puppet master while someone else carried out his orders? Oh my gosh.
That is on YouTube. You can see that. You can see that interview. It's pretty kind of scary stuff. So
it was prescient. Yeah. The continuity of Obama era policies under Biden is glaring. Biden's radical economic and climate boondoggles like Build Back Better and the Inflation Reduction Act weren't just echoes of Obama's agenda. They were carbon copies, with Biden playing the role of a less convincing understudy.
Biden's own Obamacare albatross was just as disastrous, except this time it was painted green, cost even more, and led to an inflation nightmare. Remember the Afghanistan withdrawal fiasco? And again, I don't know how any sound thinking person can see videos of that withdrawal and not think that there was just a little bit of problem with the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So, sound familiar? Like Obama insisting that ISIS was the JV team. Again, that's out there on film. You can see that. The same architects of Obama era failures were in charge, bungling timelines and ignoring warnings. Meanwhile, Biden seemed to be caught off guard at every turn. So
you remember that? I mean, at every turn, he was caught off guard.
Yeah, at everything, he was either caught off guard or it was an inconvenience, right? Like when the 13 caskets came back of those people that were killed in the military that was killed in Afghanistan, checking his watch, needing to go get his pudding or his ice cream or whatever. It was just
pudding Joe.
Yeah. So remember when Obama visited the White House and the staff bum rushed him? Biden was seen wandering around the room, awkwardly wondering what to do. Exactly. That was
that?
Embarrassing. Yeah, an embarrassing moment.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. Okay, second one, First Lady Jill Biden. The First Lady was Joe Biden's handler, coach, and babysitter. Jill Biden's influence on Joe's decision-making has been an open secret for years, starting with his decision to run for president in 2020, even though close advisors reportedly warned he didn't have the stamina for a grueling campaign. When Joe Biden's promise to be a one-term president came up and Democrats began eyeing the door for the next candidate, it was Jill who convinced him to run for re-election, despite what she had to know about his obvious decline. Was this about his legacy, or was it just a desperate power grab?
Oh yeah, she liked the living conditions. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure. Right?
she's got to be put in style. Remember, Scott, we did a segment. All the loans that the Bidens took out, they took out millions of dollars of loans, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then paid it back. And then took it out and paid it back.
Right.
Where did all the money come from to do that?
Right. Yeah. On a because I mean, all he's really done for the last 50 years is either be senator, vice president, president, and if you're taking the salary that's given, those salaries aren't gigantic. Just ask Dr. Fauci. He was making more money than the president was making.
And all of them, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they weren't making they were making good money, but not the big bucks where you could be qualifying for these loans like they were getting. So anyway. After Joe Biden's disastrous debate between or performance against Donald Trump, where he looked more confused than commanding, and that wasn't embarrassing. That was hard to watch. It was. Jill delivered the kind phrase that would make North Korean propagandists blush. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. What?
Like a little child.
Yeah. Well, what was she? Wasn't she an elementary school teacher? I think that's what her deal was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Remember when the first lady ran a cabinet meeting? Jill was
crazy. Crazy.
Exactly. Unprecedented. Jill was stepping in when her husband was disengaged, disoriented, or otherwise absent. A role that feels more like acting president than a loving partner. Yeah.
Yeah. And this happened to Wilson, right? Woodrow Wilson. He had a stroke, and the wife was keeping it together.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't. At least he wasn't seen. We had to see this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the third one, Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, and I personally think that the Chief of Staff had a lot to do with this because he's like, you lean on him to get things done, right? For the idiocracy. So Biden's Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, often called a fixer, quietly emerged as one of the most powerful figures in the idiocracy. Zients' influence was evident during the early stages of the pandemic when he spearheaded the COVID-19 response team. Since then, his role has expanded, effectively making him the behind-the-scenes manager of the White House with a president who didn't grasp what was really going on.
Given Zients' reputation as a detail-oriented manager with significant control over White House operations, it's certainly plausible that he orchestrated the signing of the executive order halting liquefied natural gas exports, ensuring it aligned with his broader environmental or economic goals without requiring Biden's deep engagement. Yeah. Now, yeah, this is really eye-opening stuff here because again, if you thought that this guy was in control, you got some serious thinking you got to do. So
yeah. So number 4, which less likely but still plausible, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. His role as National Security Advisor positioned him as a key figure in the Biden idiocracy. But given the president's cognitive abilities, it may have been simply calling the shots. Too bad he wasn't very successful. Sullivan was instrumental in orchestrating major policies such as the withdrawal from Afghanistan, where he managed the planning process. Sullivan was so involved that it caught the attention of Congressman Mike McCall, who demanded Sullivan testify in front of a House committee. He also played a significant role in shaping the idiocracy's industrial strategy, promoting policies to protect U.S. manufacturing, and counter China's technological advancements. What did he do to counter it?
Yeah, that guy was just a joke.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's doing today, actually. I don't know. And number 5, I'm so glad you saved this one for me. Number 5, a purple-haired 24-year-old intern who moonlights as a TikTok influencer. The radical,
right?
Thanks. The radical shift in gender and race policies under the Biden administration screams of a progressive activist completely out of touch with mainstream America. Biden's decision to let biological males compete in women's sports, signed as an executive order on day one, showcases the extreme agenda of far-left influencers. Add to that the administration's push for critical race theory training across federal agencies and its abandonment of mediocrity for, excuse me, for race and gender conscious hiring.
These policies feel like they were dreamed up by a 24-year-old progressive fresh out of college, fresh off a gap year, funded by their parents while they roughed it in luxury hotels across Europe. We watched influencers awkwardly dance while professing their love for an octogenarian president. And it wasn't just embarrassing. It was a window into who's really shaping the idiocracy's messaging. Remember that person that flashed his or her breasts at the White House? I mean, it was a transgender person, but right on the White House lawn flashed their breasts. Crazy.
Disgusting. For absolutely certain, Kamala Harris is not running the show. She treated her VP title the same way she handled her borders role, loving the prestige while doing next to nothing. So who do you think was running the government for the past 4 years?
Let us know who you think.
I would have to say that this is probably a team effort. I think all or maybe one or two of these people were doing most of it, but I think it was a team effort. They were all involved. I think you could even add some other names on there, like when Susan Rice was involved in the administration for a bit. Just, I don't know. There's a lot of people that I would love to see, how they have these lists of people who had access to the White House and how many times they'd been there. I would love to have some of those lists come forward and let us take a look at that and see who was actually going in and out of the White House on a regular basis that really probably didn't need to do that.
That was the only administration where cocaine was found in the White House. I mean,
more than one time.
For real?
Yeah, I know.
All right. Well,
lowering the bar, man. It's just awful.
Folks, we thank you. Please disregard the crow that's driving me crazy. But we thank you for joining us on the special edition. We are Science and Technology, and we'll have more coming at you.
Yeah, you guys take care. Have a good day, everyone.